Okay, so I don't know if it's streaming yet. Okay, I think we're streaming now.
Yeah, looks like it.
Hey, hi there, Ali. Hi there, Sally.
Hi, Paul.
I'm
Hiya.
so Hi, I'm so excited today because I've got probably the two best coaches in Australia to help us out with our limiting beliefs.
Thank
And
you.
now, we've been hearing from Sally, and we just know how wonderful Sally is at
She is.
expressing herself and helping us when it comes to talking about this taboo subject called money. But one thing is, Alison is this amazing coach. She's an empowerment and I can't even read my own handwriting. Empowerment and strategic self-love coach advocate. Is that correct?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, that's okay. And today I've asked these two wonderful ladies to help us with limiting beliefs around money. And when it comes to finding and overcoming these limiting beliefs, we don't have anyone better. So, hey there, Sally. Hi there, Ali.
Hiya. Thanks
Hiya.
for the invite. I appreciate that.
Oh, I'm so excited. Ever since Sally mentioned you, I've been excited. So,
Me too.
uh,
Yeah, I
so
agree with Sally's fabulous.
she is fabulous. So let's get on with it. So when it comes to somebody that were to come to you with a limiting belief, what kind of processes would you go through? Or no, if someone goes to you and says, "Oh, I'm struggling financially," and you realize it's a limiting belief, what kind of processes might you go through to identify and then help them overcome those beliefs?
So you want to go
Either
first,
one of
Sal?
you.
Oh, no. Well, so yeah, I'm all about the energy stuff, and Ali and I do workshops together, and we actually just did a recent one on overcoming blocks around relationships themselves and also finances. And a lot of it is, I think we even mentioned it a few weeks ago, Paul, but it's just like, how did you grow up with money? What were the stories that were told that surrounded you about money? Like, money doesn't grow on trees, you have to work hard to get money. So all these sort of beliefs that were instilled in us as we go up. So I would start up with, what is your relationship with money? What is it? Is it evil? Do you see money as evil? Successful people, they're evil because they've made lots of money. Do you want to jump in here, Al? But this is how we started off with our discussions with people's, their
I
relationship.
agree. All our conditioning, well, 95% of our conditioning, and that's just a big plaque, comes from when we were children. So, and sometimes it's even from generations behind us. So, it's all about working out, where did you get these thoughts, these beliefs? And I was actually listening to something on. I've just driven up to Melbourne, driven down to Melbourne from Canberra, and I was listening to some books on Audible, and they were talking about implicit beliefs and explicit beliefs. So explicit beliefs are the ones that you have. Like, I'm not very good at managing money is one that you have. But implicit beliefs are the ones that are kind of hidden behind in your mind. You might not even know. And often they do come from when we were children. And it may have been, even if you didn't have your parents saying stuff like money doesn't grow on trees, if you heard your parents fighting about money, then that would be, particularly as a child, because you think everything is about you as a child, so that would have gone somewhere into your unconscious mind, and you may have found that you may have thought that you were the cause of this money problem between mum and dad. So that's so deep. That's even deeper than, money doesn't grow on trees, because you may have thought, dad may have said, because I know I was the youngest of five, and even though we were very well off, I kind of felt my father was always looking to sort of manage, the money that we had. And so I don't think I did, but I may have, as the youngest child, thought, well, the reason that, money is hard is my fault because I'm the fifth child. If they didn't have me, then maybe we wouldn't have a struggle. So those sort of things are the things that we take in without even knowing we've taken in. So it's really trying to unpack all those things and sort of like peeling back the onion, to use that metaphor that we use all the time, is working out. So, tell me about, in your family, what happened about money? What sort of conversations were had about money? So, yes, were there any stories that were told either about money doesn't grow on trees or whatever else. But going even deeper to sort of unpack the things that people don't necessarily know. And that will vary from individual to individual.
I think the key point is to identify the the cords of negativity attached, because what we're trying to do is cut those cords, right? So where are these cords embedded, and where are we feeling them in our body? So it's really getting down to this root cause of where is it coming from, and identifying that so that we can cut it, because this is heavy, sort of dark, heavy energy. And it's just, that's, if you're attracting from this space, you're going to attract more of that. So the more you step in out of the darkness into the lightness around it and feeling that beautiful abundance, like I always visualize just throwing money, right? Because I love it, just throwing money. And it's not evil. Like some of the things that I had written down here, I can't handle money, particularly for women. I'm no good at it. I leave it to my husband, or, dad helps me or whatever. I have to work hard for my money. Money doesn't buy you happiness. Only rich get richer. Money is the root of all evil. Money doesn't grow on trees, like we said. Money flies out the window. It's hard to hang on to. It just goes. It slips through my fingers. These are, imagine playing that out all the time subconsciously, because it's just an autopilot pattern that's just going on and going on. So you're resonating that energy out, and so that's what you're going to attract in. So when you can flip it to the lighter side and feel like we've always been talking about, Paul, that beautiful, like this is awesome, because for me, this is what it provides me in my lifestyle, ability to travel, like to hang out with Ali, do fun things, go out to a restaurant. So it's just like the lightness of the money, because it's just it's called a medium, or whatever you call it, into providing this step into a greater lifestyle. So it's cutting the cords of this negative stuff, dragging us back down. But it's the key is identifying where it's come from, and then feeling where it is within your body as well. Is it making, when you talk about money or thinking about your bills, do you feel constriction in your throat, or does your tummy tighten up? And then you peel off, like Ali was saying, peeling it off deeper to say, what's really going on with here? Where did it first get embedded in me? Where did it get anchored in? Anchored into my DNA, into my energy system? Was it like at the age of 7, like Ali was saying, it might be, oh no, we can't afford it, and go, oh, I feel like it's my fault because I was the last one born, and it stopped us all from going to Luna Park or whatever it is, because it's too expensive for the family. And so you're blaming yourself, and you're carrying this guilt. So you've got guilt attached to your money, and that's the cord that you want to cut. Like, it's a bit of a deep conversation, but once you get your head around it, then it just becomes easy to go, oh, right, that's what it is, And it's like the other week, it was my nest egg that I was going to get to. That was the root cause. I cut that cord, and then the lightness comes in. So you want to bring the lightness in around money, so that it's just like we get a smile when we talk about money, rather than that heaviness of like debt, commitment, bills, mortgage, all that sort of dark energy. That's just part of life. If we can accept it and flip it into the lightness, you can already, when you start to think about it, you feel that lightness within you. Do you get what I'm talking about, Paul?
Yeah. Sorry, Paul.
Yeah. So another thing that you actually quickly mentioned was the guilt around money. And a lot of the things that we watch on television, and guilt and shame, absolutely.
Shame's another one.
The guilt and shame, and what we get programmed from our schools and from our parents and from television especially, is that money is bad. And I'm actually listening to Catherine Ponder, who is an old guru when it comes to she's got a book on prosperity, and she was a pastor, or she might still be a pastor. I don't know if she's alive or dead. But one of the things she was saying is that the Bible, if you read the Bible, and I don't, but if you do read the Bible is full of, God has a lot of money. When he did his, gave everybody the wine to drink, it wasn't just a cheap cask wine, it was the finest wine in the world at that time. And what she's saying is that if you do believe in God, or if you believe in something higher, they want the best for you. And so when you're feeling guilt and shame, you're actually not listening to your higher self either. You're actually, and that's where the block comes in, and that's why you've got this limiting belief.
I think also just going on the thing about the Bible, there's so much in the Bible that has been twisted where, it doesn't say money is the root of all evil. It says the love of money is the root of all evil. So because money is, if money is your master, that's not good. But if money is your vehicle by which you do things, that's awesome, because it's through having money that you can help the poor, which is again what religion is about. But a lot of things in religion, as I said, has kind of been twisted where we only take one aspect of it. And exactly, it's the love of money that's the root of all evil, not money itself. There's an African American pastor called Reverend Ike, and he's probably dead by now because he was around in the 1920s or what have you. And find him on YouTube. He has awesome stuff about money. And he always says, basically that God wants you to have money. So call the money in. Don't be ashamed of it. Don't feel guilty. This is your birthright. So as you said, even if you don't believe in God, you might not believe in God yourself, but if you've had in your past people who did believe in God and they have now passed on their beliefs to you, which you've now taken on, then that's something to, have a look at and maybe undo, flip it, as Sally said. But talking about flipping it, one of the things I really love to do is look at what you want. So what do you want in terms of money? And then look at what's your negative belief around that. So I would love to be a millionaire. Do I have a negative belief around that? Do I think that maybe I can't manage money very well, so I'll never be a millionaire? The other thing they say is we all have a particular thermostat, whether it's for money or love or what have you, that once we reach that ceiling, we sort of think, okay, can't have any more. So you might want to be a millionaire, but if you're only happy or you're only comfortable earning whatever your parents earned or whatever your last sort of wage was, then as soon as you get above that, you will self-sabotage, and therefore whatever money you have, will eke out. You might get fines, you might get whatever else, or suddenly debts that you didn't even know you had. People will be asking for your money. So it is such a very complex subject, which does take a lot of kind of unpacking. So it's lovely to have this conversation around it. Over to you.
So I think, just on that, I just think, part of the process is, really stopping and doing the work. It's all about awareness. You can't change anything if you don't know it, right? So you've got to have this awareness that, okay, what is my story, my money story, or my limiting beliefs about money? So you've got to identify it. And then you've sort of look back at when it was embedded or when it was anchored in there. Was it from a child, like Ali was saying, at the age of 7 or whatever, because it's usually childhood stuff, right? And then you've got to say, where do I feel it in my body? Where when I'm thinking about this mindset of lack or whatever, how does it make me feel? Where am I feeling it in my body? And really tune into that. Like, even ask your body, is there a message here for it? The more you can connect with your body, because your body's just going to give you messages, right? So you've got to listen to the messages it's giving you. Why am I feeling this constriction in my throat? Because I can't even talk about it. Or is it in my gut and I'm feeling this tightness and I'm feeling, I'm actually feeling sick when I think about it. And it's like, okay, so why am I feeling sick? What is actually underneath it? And this is where you really get into this calm, balanced state where you can connect into yourself and listen to the messages your body is telling you. Because then you go, okay, so now this is the message. Then you start to say, well, what are my triggers? What makes me feel like this? What is it that sets me off? Is it every time I get a bill in the door? Or is it when I looking for a holiday and I can't plan, haven't got the cash? Or what is it that triggers me to come into this more negative space? And then once you know what your triggers are, then you can work on working with yourself and resetting yourself. But once again, you've got to have that awareness of when you are getting triggered, knowing how it's making you feel, knowing when it's happening. Then you've got to stop, pause, and then choose to respond, not react. So that's when you choose, right, okay, what can I do differently? Let's flip this from the negative to the positive, right, and get it across the line. It's not easy, but the more that you do it, as we always say, it's simple, small steps.
It's a muscle.
It is a muscle. It's just like, that's why I'm fitness on all levels. It's starting to work that muscle, right? So that you can it's not going to go away, but the more that you work with it, the quicker it's going to go away because you've got more conscious awareness of it, because 95% of our patterns are autopilots, right? So it's all in our subconscious, unconscious. So it's utilizing that 5% and working on that muscle in that area. And really, you got to do the work. It's not easy, right? You got to roll your sleeves up and go, oh, okay, I'm being challenged here. I'm being triggered, recognizing it. Okay, that's an old story and that can go to bed, and I'm cutting that cord, right? So let's cut that cord.
I'd just like to add to that, Sal, because we sort of think, sometimes I think, I'll just sort of see where it came from in my past, but often we don't know. And just like you say, feel into your body, I also say, tap into your higher self. If you don't know, just go quiet, do some deep breathing, just 3 deep breaths, in through your nose, out through your mouth, and have the intention that you're going to find out what the cause is. Just sit quietly and say, where did this come from? And just listen. And it will come.
And I'm glad you mentioned the breath, because that was what I was thinking about at the same time. And, when an event happens to you when you're younger, the first thing you do is you're actually holding in and locking in that emotional charge. So when you actually catch a thought, right, it's an emotional charge that you're locked in by that, right? So the way to unlock that is to breathe through it, So if you find yourself, like, you're holding the emotion, so you just breathe through it and let it go. So breath work is so important as well.
So important. So that's part of it. Like when you stop and pause, I always say take 3 deep breaths. And as a kid, whenever a kid falls over, you go, hang on, just breathe. And you just say, take 3 deep breaths and you'll be fine. Because, thinking about, when you start to have panic attacks or getting stressed, you do lots of shallow breathing. Because breath is energy. So you want it, and using your breath, you can either slow your body down or you can speed it up if you're feeling a bit sluggish. There's different ways of breathing, right? It's so powerful. And just breathing through the calmness. So when you're getting triggered, and it's all about stopping and resetting that energy. So let's take it away from the franticness or the stress energy, calming it back down. And that's where you'd use your slower breathing, like breathing in, holding it, and then slowly exhaling. Or if you want to power yourself up, you do it short breaths, and really blow it out. But big belly breaths where you bring it in through your lungs, down through into your diaphragm, really expand that out, and then slowly exhaling it. Doing that even 3 times will bring your energy back down, reset it. Absolutely. So
when you're breathing in, especially if you're feeling some anxiety, you can sort of say, I'm breathing in calm and I'm breathing out anxiety. I'm breathing in peace and I'm breathing out fear, or whatever it is, and that will calm you down as well. But I think what I was talking about in terms of the breathing was, before you try to connect with your higher self, just take some deep breaths just to anchor you, to ground yourself, and then say, just tell me, where is this coming from? And trust your higher self will tell you, because your higher self is there for you, to look after you for your best, outcomes. So just trust your higher self and ask it. It will answer you. And it's all about trust. The first thing that comes is usually it. Don't rationalize it, just take it and go with it. If you like to write it down in journal, like I know our Sal is a big journaler, you can go with that. If you're a meditator, just meditate on that. Whatever works for you. But if you don't know, because we don't always know where it comes from, and that's why you need people like Sally and me, right? So if you don't know where it comes from, just stop, take a breath, or three, ask yourself, and wait for the answer. Don't judge it, just invite it in.
Yeah.
And it'll come.
And that trust is so important, and that's really something. And I think I was speaking to Sally about that before, the faith, the trust, But we actually have a question for Sally. So, Sally, the question is, for Sally, what about signs you receive in front of you?
Oh, I'm big on the messages. Absolutely, 100%. And I usually Google the emotional meaning of. So I usually see feathers and like birds and animals. And honestly, the other week it was crazy. I lived down at the beach and there was this seal. And when I looked up the seal, it was all about change. It was about transformation, riding through the waves, whatever. It was amazing. Absolutely take note, because that's usually angels are trying to just send us messages, supporting us. Also loved ones, people that have passed. The other thing I was just going to say about trust and belief, that's something, absolutely trust and belief, but getting this is taking a little bit deeper, and this is like sometimes can be a bit overwhelming for people. But along with our limiting beliefs, there's also family lineage that we've carried down. So in our DNA, embedded in our DNA, is old limiting beliefs from our families, right? So it may be parents or grandparents. And when you look at our own family lines, you know, they've gone through war, they've gone through poverty, they've gone through depression. And so that energy has been escorted down and escorted down. And that's why I work with the energy, and I clear these blocks within people so it doesn't keep passing down. So, you know, sometimes you think, oh, I'm really on top of this, but you just go, there's just something that just keeps getting in the way and it keeps repeating. Sometimes it's linking back to your family history. I've had, I've worked with lots of people clearing this sort of stuff, and it's just like those that were POWs, you know, and then they had this mindset of lack and hanging on, and it's just it's old stuff that served them for then. But these times have changed, because look at parenting, for example, how we parent so differently to how we were parented, and then how you sort of role model how you were brought up, and it's the same thing with your money stories, right? It's just like what stories were told to you from your parents and what was told to them, because they're only helping, they can only know what they know with the way that they were conditioned, if you like, through it all. So this is about resetting the neural pathways, resetting the old conditionings and programs around money that has been embedded on us subconsciously and just come into our autopilot along the way. So there are lots and lots of layers to this, but also just be mindful that there's old stories as well. And you may recognize that, oh, I get it, because my dad had this from his dad, and then he's brought it to me. And it's, you've got to be the male in the family. And back in the old days, a lot of women didn't work, and times have changed, right? And so it's the old male energy around the whole money thing. And, I don't know if we've discussed much about the male and female aspects around money as well. So there's that whole as well.
Can I just add something before we go on? So the question was about signs and stuff. And I wholeheartedly believe that, yes, certainly look into Google or the books or whatever. But when all's said and done, is what does that symbol or sign mean to you? Because your interpretation and how it sort of resonates for you might be completely different from what the books say or what Google says. And it doesn't matter what anybody else says. It's what it means to you. Because whether it's come from your past, as Sally said, and with NLP, I've even worked with people who have had an experience in their mother's womb, or even through the birth process, where they've had this now new limiting belief. That wasn't about money particularly, but it can come from any time where you've been exposed to it either directly or indirectly, or from your lineage as well. But it's what it means to you that's really important.
And when talking about the lineage or how far back you go, now I heard you go back 7 generations. Right? So,
you go back forever.
Okay. Well, I actually did a workshop once where they actually went back 7 generations. And if somebody, one of the 7 generations has done something wrong, you might take that on. So let's say you have an alcoholic father, right? Or an alcoholic uncle 3 generations away. You could go in sympathy with that uncle. Well, your whole being is trying to make right what that uncle did wrong, if that makes sense. And so you might even have to be going further back in your own life in order to unblock some of these mental blockages.
Definitely. I think that 7 generations thing came from a study they did with mice. And I think, don't know if I've got the memory correct, but I think they used sticks of cherry blossom trees to sort of beat these mice with. And then it got to the point where even further, so they in this one generation, and then put further down the generations, even though they didn't beat the mice just had to smell the cherry blossom, and that would be enough to put them into some kind of fear response. So I think that's where the 7 generation thing comes from. But as Sally said, my experience too in my training is it'll go back as far as you need it to go back, as long as you're in tune with where it is and your intention is to get in. For me, it's all about your intention. Set your intention again that this is what you want, and it will come from wherever it needs to.
Can I just add on that other thing about when we were talking about the symbols and Alice was saying whatever you resonate with, always go with your first thought, because that's your subconscious talking to you. Just don't overthink it. Just the first thought that comes to you, and that's when you're getting the message from your subconscious or your higher self or whatever. So that's where the message lies, is what you feel resonating with. It's just like, with the Inner Segal book about matching the emotions to your physical ailments. It's not the whole gamut that's listed there. It's the ones that you feel drawn to, the ones that go, yeah, that's what it is, pinpointing that. So yes, Googling up the messages and just go, yeah, but it's what you feel you align to. The more you can connect in with yourself, with your feelings and the energy of stuff and the alignment, that is when you're in flow, when you're feeling that alignment. The other thing I was going to say was about the birthing process, right? So when you're in the womb, it's all energy, right? So you're taking in whatever the mother in particular is going through. So if this is idea of scarcity, oh my God, it wasn't planned, we can't afford it, or it's another child, that energy is going to come down of and this is where the worthiness and the guilt and the shame and everything can start from conception, from the spark. From the very second, there's energy, right? The souls come into form, and it's all just starting in physical form. So this is deeper level stuff. But if we can understand that it's more than just I can't handle money. It's just like, where does this stem from? And this is really peeling really down to the deep layers. So,
and it's even more than just, mum and dad said that, money doesn't grow on trees, or money's the root of all evil. It's even deeper than that. Absolutely. And as you said, Sal, the first thing that comes to your mind, is definitely something to take to be aware of and to take note of. And people like Inner Segal or Louise Hay or whatever, they will give you the symbolism, which is awesome. So, and I don't think, I'm a big believer in, take everything and use what you need from there. So it's nothing is either one or the other. I believe everything is an amalgam. So take bits and pieces that work for you and that empower you, because as we said, I'm all about empowerment. So whatever empowers you to make the best of what you want from your life.
So Paul, did you expect such a deep conversation today?
Sally, when it comes to you, I always expect it.
He's awesome.
And honestly, what's deep? Deep is just a word, okay? For someone like me, I don't even think it's that deep, but you put in a meaning on there's been a deep conversation. And so other people that don't think it's deep, but go, oh, this is a deep conversation. Deep is it's exactly what Alison's saying. It's just what you assign to it, right? And, the way I see this is somebody listening to this might just go, oh my God. And that could be that little trigger that gets released. And that little trigger could be the difference between everything in his world, It could be that thing that changes his world from ending up being poverty-stricken to somebody that's, when he retires, has more money than he knows what to do with. It could be, it's really as simple as that. It could just be one little thing.
And, Paul, one thing that I'm not sure that we've mentioned, because as we say, it's all your energetic relationship with money. And one of the things that you picked up in one of the books, is that me or you? Sorry, I think that's me. Oh, just turn it off, Ellie. I think it's down there. My phone. I think it's... Just turn it off. That's... it was carrying around $100 in your wallet, or having coins. Like even with Asian things, we've got the money. I've got the money tree with the amethyst tree. I've got the coins. No, the money tree, is it jade? I can't remember. I have it outside of my house. Yeah, and I do the same now. I carry that around in my purse. Outside of my front door, I've got the money trees. I think they're jade. I can't remember. All different things, the coins, the everything. So there's lots of things that you can do to draw in the energy. And I was thinking, I think we mentioned the other day, I had a plant that was dying and everyone said throw it out. And I said, the power of my thoughts, right? And so I put some loving thoughts towards it. Now it's a flourishing thing. So imagine if you were putting loving thoughts around money, going, I love this $100 that I'm carrying in my wallet. And, this is going to, provide me with a wonderful future, or give me the holiday that I'm after, or upgrading my car, or it's starting to put your intentions and your thoughts, because where your attention goes, your energy flows. And that is a huge thing to remember in all aspects of our life. So your thoughts are really powerful, and Ali and I are just king and queen about your thoughts, right? So what are your thoughts? You can start to lift it. So we've talked about the negative side and overcoming your negative sides, but ways to improve your positive and light energy around money is doing positive things like that, carrying $100 in your wallet, putting coins here or there, or talking to your plants, or getting money trees, or symbolic things to you where you can channel your energy in a positive way around money, whatever works for you, like whatever you resonate with, what aligns with you. It can be putting post-it notes in your office, putting dollar signs, or for me, I have a visualize of like throwing lots of cash. And there's a Mind movie that I did with Joe Dispenza. There's a chick from Australia who invented
Natalie
Yeah.
Ledwell.
Yeah, and so I've done her courses and whatever, but basically you could do a Canva or something, little movie of you really visualizing and feeling into, remember, Paul, we were talking about manifesting. You said you found it hard to visualize. Well, why don't you do a mind movie or something like that? Put together a little
It's so funny you were saying that, because this morning, because every morning I write down my goals, and you said manifest, so act as if, right? So now I've got on a little post-it note: feel, act, and something else, right? And so for 5 minutes, I'm just putting myself into, but then I was going, I'm doing this every day, and I'm getting myself quite a nice little story happening there. So why don't I put that on tape?
Nice.
And then I thought, well, how am I getting that? How I can put that on tape, but I don't want to have to redo the tape every time as the story gets longer and longer. So I thought, how can I join tapes together? And I thought, well, I do all this thing on the video, and it came to me. I said, well, maybe I'll just do a mind movie where I put all the voices together, and then I can just overlay. Okay. Sorry, no one would have seen that, but Sally just showed a Mind Movies app, right? But I can just overlay those images so that if I do feel as though, welcome to Mind Movies. So if I do feel as though I need to just have a bit of time to myself, I can close my eyes and just whack on this Mind Movie and close my eyes and just listen to it. And it's something that will just keep manifesting what you want. And this is a 5-year goal, so it's like it can happen overnight, I suppose. But if it does, I'll be a very different. But
definitely, don't put any limitations on you. If I can just jump in to say, that's the other thing with anything in your life. It might be a 5-year goal, but does it need to be 5 years? Can it happen in 5 months? Why not? Or 5 weeks? So that might be a 5-year goal, but don't put a limitation on it. So one of the things we always say, 5 years or better, or this and something, whatever else.
Something better. And yesterday,
5 years or quicker.
Yesterday in the Loom, actually, did you see that DL mentioned the part that I think it was Napoleon Hill, or no, someone had said, or someone, it wasn't him, that we usually overestimate what we can achieve in 1 year, but we underestimate what we can achieve in 10 years. So it's really, and that's the same like
other way around, I think. I think we overestimate what we can achieve in 10 years, but underestimate what we can achieve in a year. I don't know, whatever it is.
One of them. I just thought I'd just share with you. I mean, we don't have to go through it all, but this is with the Mind Movie, you put a sort of an affirmation as well on top of it. So, I am whatever, whole and complete. And then you put up the next picture and you put another affirmation on it. I'm strong and healthy, or whatever.
It's all generated for you.
Yeah, that's Mind Movie. You can do it yourself on Canva, right? So it's just putting in inspirational pictures with affirmations on top of it. And so when it goes forward to the money ones, and super powerful.
Before we end this conversation, I really want to say something I should have said earlier. And it doesn't matter what you've learned from your parents or past generations or whatever. it also comes down to how you feel about yourself. So if you don't love yourself, which is why I'm a self-love advocate, if you don't think you're worthy, if you don't think you're deserving, then it doesn't matter. Even if your parents were the richest people in the world or whatever, you won't be able to hang on to money because you don't think you deserve it. So we have three basic needs three basic human needs, if you like, which is different from the Tony Robbins 6 human needs. That is, we need to be loved, we need to feel worthy, and we need to feel that we belong. And all of that is kind of comes from caveman days when it was about survival. So you need to feel lovable, you need to feel worthy. And when you're lovable and worthy, you will belong to the tribe. When you belong to the tribe, you will survive, because if you weren't lovable or you weren't worthy of being saved, then the tribe would cast you out. So lovable, worthy, and deserving and belonging is all about how we feel about ourselves. And when we feel all those things, then again, money will come in. So I would think that's the start of it, how you feel about yourself, and then go into your childhood stories or wherever else it came from, your past or whatever. Because, everything is it is very complex. So everything is all interrelated. And to some extent, it doesn't really matter where you start as long as you start. Or you can start in the middle, whatever the middle is, and then go back. Or you can start at the beginning and then move forward. It doesn't really matter as long as you're moving and you're getting some momentum to understand where your limitations are and start dealing with those limitations. And I love, what Sally said about flipping it. That's exactly what I do when I'm dealing with clients about their strengths or their weaknesses or their negative beliefs. What's a way you can make this a positive? If you could say, if you could put it in a positive light, and positive might even be yet. So I'm not very good at managing money yet, or I'm not very good at managing money, but I'm learning how to manage money. So change the story. And when you change the story, you actually change your thinking. And I don't know if you know Terry Pope, who's from HNP, but he says you can change your life at the speed of thought. And that's all it is. What you think and what you believe is how you will be. And it's really important. The two words I am are the two most important words in any language. So be careful what you say after I am, because that becomes your identity. So if you say I'm bad with money, that becomes your identity. You say I'm learning how to be better with money, or I'm awesome with money, or I am deserving of money, that becomes your identity. So I just thought I really would like to make sure that we have those two things in the conversation before we end it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
And also, when it comes to saying things or affirmations, whatever affirmation, I want people to be aware that your mind doesn't process a negative. Right?
Yeah, love it.
All right. So, will you explain that to us, Ellie?
Sure. So, as Paul says, the mind doesn't sort of take on negatives. It only sees the positives. So if I say to you, don't think of a pink elephant, you have to think of the pink elephant to realize I don't want to think about that. So it's as basic as that. So make sure that your affirmations are all positive. Like, I deserve money, or money comes to me freely, easily, and effortlessly, all the time. There's a guy called Jake Ducey, and he has a free hypnosis called Jake's Hypnosis. He's Jake Ducey, Ducey. He's awesome on YouTube, and he also has a whole lot of stuff about money. And he has a free hypnosis that you can download. And he says something like, money comes to me in increasing volumes from many sources on an ongoing basis. It is amazing, or something like that. But it's a really beautiful, affirmation that you can do. Always in the positive. I'm not sure if I answered your question.
No, I knew you would do a better job than me. So that's why I handed it over. I'll play football with the girls. I'll give you the ball.
Yeah. And just get back on that negative stuff, the mind not picking up. For years, we would do these exercises, like with kids, you say, don't run, don't pick that up, don't do that. And what do? Exactly the opposite. So they get confused in the processing here, because they hear do that, pick it up, sit down, or, stand up, whatever. So whatever you're saying, don't do this, don't do that, they're just hearing do it. And dogs are really confused. They just get really confused. So just being in the positive about do this, do that. So you've got to rework it. And once again, everything that we're talking about is having the awareness. So once it's just having that conscious connection with what's going on. And once again, you're working with the 5%. 95% is just in autopilot, and we're just normal habits and behaviors. So this is about changing normal habits and behaviors, changing the neural pathways in your brain. So you just got to start, because as Ali said before, it's the momentum, right? Because I did a blog on it last week. It's just about start simple, small steps, but it gets that energy moving. It starts the momentum, and then you get that whole snowball effect, or whatever you call it, and it just starts getting bigger and bigger. And then when you stop and look back, you go, wow, it's just like all of this is like a journey climbing up a mountain. You're never at the top of the mountain, but you look back and go, wow, I've come a long way. And along the way, there might be amazing waterfalls and all these other things that you never expected, because you're not limiting yourself by doing this or something better when you're putting out what you're choosing, right? Allowing even greater opportunities than what your mind can think. So don't limit yourself. But I just wanted to say that momentum is really important, starting, having the awareness, because you can't change what you don't know. And we stay consistent with these messages, then it starts to sink in, because you keep at it until it sinks in. And once again, back on those power of the thoughts are really super important. Ali and I bang on about this all the time, because that's energy. But then the words that come out of your mouth and the actions that you take, it's all linked in, because what you think, you feel, and then you do. So what is it that you're thinking, and then how you're acting around it? So just simple sort of summary about the key things, right? It's all energy.
I'd just like to sum up by saying that your past is your past. It doesn't mean that, that's going to be you forever. If you want to change, you absolutely can. You're in the driver's seat. Just make sure that you're looking through the windscreen and not the rear vision mirror. Keep looking in the rear vision mirror and you're going to have an accident. Definitely look up every now and again and see what mistakes you've made from the past. Don't make them again, but keep driving, looking ahead to where you want to go, because you are in charge of your life. And absolutely, you decide what you want to do, you choose it, and you can make it happen. And there are people around like Sally, there's me, like a whole lot of other people. Even Paul now is doing a whole lot of stuff to start changing mindsets. So good on you, Paul. Even though you weren't necessarily a coach to start off with, you're definitely in that space now. So well done.
Right. Firstly, thank you for that analogy as well, because I think most people are actually looking in the rearview mirror, and that's why people are always going from one accident to another. And the other thing that both you and Sally are talking about is it's a process, you're only aware of 5%, right? And that's why when Sally's talking about peeling back the onion, or the analogy she'd like to use, it's because you are only aware of such a small percentage, because your body has become so automated in so many ways. And so when you start this work, it's all a process. And as you uncover these little blocks as you go along, your life will start to improve, and you'll start to be looking more in the forward than in the back, to the forward than the back.
I love it. And that 5% can absolutely change the 95%, because when you decide consciously you want to make a change and you start doing the work, then you undo that 95% conditioning and stuff that you had. But it does take commitment, and it does take starting the action. Love it.
Yeah.
Catherine Ponder was saying, when I was listening to today, right, she was saying that consciousness, right, if you spend an hour of consciousness, it's better than a month of non-consciousness.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. And one other final point I'd like to add is that
we can be here forever with Sally and me.
No, because we keep going on. But the negative emotions are going to come up, and allow them to flow through you. Because when we tuck them under the carpet and go, no, I shouldn't be feeling like that, you're not actually with it. You're not allowing it to process. So you have to allow it to flow through you, and not anchor it or embed it and keep it stuck in the body. So this is where it manifests into illness and all these other things. So whatever comes through, just give it airplay. It's like you wouldn't get a P, but Paul, but if you had PMT, right, and you just go, today's a write-off. It's just like I'm just not in flow. But you have these bad days, and as we've said before, don't manifest on those bad days. Just allow the emotions to ride the wave, because it is. We're all emotional beings. We're all, we're 80% water, and that's why we're very. I don't know if you got hit by this last full moon, but it's been really powerful. And a lot of people haven't been sleeping and they're feeling off and they can't put it down to like what's going on. But it's full moon, right? So we're energetically getting affected. So we all go up and down and up and down. And it's okay. We have good days where you're feeling really empowered and, yeah, I'm going to kick some goals. And other days is like, oh my gosh. So, you know, it's allowing yourself to just process.
Give yourself some grace.
Yeah.
And again, ask it, what are you here to tell me? Because I always say pain brings a gift. So if you're having a bad day, what are you trying to tell me? And I was actually telling Sally one of my incidents coming down to Melbourne where I had some pain in my body because I had some concerns about driving down because I nearly got killed last time I drove to Melbourne. And suddenly this pain came and it hadn't been there for months, and suddenly it arrived. I thought, why are you there? And I had a chat to it, and it said it was trying to keep me safe. So I said, okay, just gave it to my angels and my higher power that, you know, I'll be fine, keep me safe. And I just kind of felt into it. And within less than 5 minutes, it went. And for my whole journey, it wasn't there except for when I was like physiologically, like I was sort of going through really heavy rain, going past a truck. So yes, it came back, but that was because it was a physiological reason, whereas previously it had been a psychological reason.
That's an amazing story.
It'll tell you. Yeah.
Very nice. Thanks for sharing that story. You know, but it's amazing how your body does talk to you all the time.
Got something to say.
And that's what you got to be. You got to be very aware of your body talking to you.
And listen.
And that's why I don't like alcohol or narcotics or anything like that, because you're dampening down your body's effectiveness to talk to you.
Yeah.
All right, so
look,
thank you, ladies, for your insights. It's been fascinating. Do you guys want to give one last word to our listeners? I'll start with Sally.
Well, you know, one thing is it's really important to rest and be gentle on yourself no matter what's going on, because that's my theme this week, is just rest, because that's what the body really needs, is sleep, rest, and then be gentle on yourself. Don't beat yourself up, because what's the point? You know, it just causes stress, anxiety, and our whole reason of being is just to be more of ourselves, do more of what brings us happiness, what brings us joy, and just to enjoy life, right? So my theme for a lot of people this week is just rest and just be gentle on yourself, and just, you know, it's not a race, it's just enjoy, as they say, enjoy the journey, not the destination. So
Thank you, Sally. That's amazing. Ali, your last final words.
Well, for me, it's all about knowing yourself, understanding yourself, and being gentle with yourself, as Sally said, and trusting that whatever messages you're looking for, ask yourself and they will come to you. And even if they don't come to you from your higher self, you'll be surprised that maybe somebody will give you a book to read, or a YouTube channel will jump up on your feed and you haven't even been looking for it. So just trust yourself, the universe, God, whoever you believe in, and also know yourself. So all those things combined are really important to just, you know, living life on your terms.
Great. Thank you for that, Ali. So now now we've listened to the wisdom of Ali and Sally. And so if anybody wants to get a hold of you, Alison, you are in this chat so they can look you up. You're a part of this group. But what I'll do is, if you want, I'll get your details, and we can actually, at the end, I'll put your details there as well. But I'd love to have you back as well.
Oh, I'd love to be back. Thank you, Paul. I've really enjoyed today. I just love Sally to pieces, as you know, and that's why we work together as well. And we've met obviously in networking in a few places, Paul, and I've always really admired you and what you do. So being part of your discussion today has meant a lot to me, and I'm so honored and blessed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alison. And I think that Sally's the most loved person on the planet.
I agree.
Probably keep that with
And deservedly so.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, just everyone, because she's got such a good heart, and that's what comes through. That's what people see. All right, then. Okay, well, thanks for that. All right, I'm going to now stop the streaming if we can figure out how.
This is great.